was a rule aimed at bringing relief to millions of Americans facing medical debt, but now the protection, I should say, is gone. A federal judge has struck down a Biden-era ruling that would have erased billions of dollars in medical bills from credit reports.
Queen City News Chief Business Correspondent Taylor Young has been following this story from the very beginning. So Taylor, this ruling could really have a serious impact on people who have medical debt.
Yeah, so medical debt is by far one of the most common financial burdens in the U.S. today. So what this ruling would mean for millions of Americans, really those unpaid medical bills will now be reflected in their credit scores, which, as we know, would have some serious repercussions, at least on the consumer side of this. But before we get into more of that impact, let's talk about first how we got here. So back in January of this year, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalized a rule that would have shielded an estimated $50 billion in medical bills from credit reports for millions of Americans. It was a move consumer advocates estimated would boost the average credit score by 20 points. But the same month that rule was finalized, a major credit union sued the Protection Bureau, saying it had no authority to make this call. Fast forward to this week, a judge agreed, canceling the policy, allowing medical debt to once again remain on Americans' credit reports. Now, I will say proponents of that judge's ruling argue that medical debt is a critical indicator to credit worthiness, in that if this was to be removed from credit reports, it would potentially prompt more Americans to avoid paying their medical bills altogether.
All right, so Taylor, what does this mean for consumers?
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the reality of this. I mean, many Americans right now are drowning in medical debt. It is estimated that this previous ruling would have taken about debt off of about 15 million Americans' credit reports. Now, this, of course, has been walked back, so that debt will now be continued to kind of weigh down scores, meaning if you do have outstanding debt, this could impact your ability to secure a car loan, a mortgage, personal line of credit, financial decisions that really can shape someone's future. But again, there's two sides of this, right? Because financial institutions really argue that medical debt is part of your financial portfolio and should be reflected in your score. So there's absolutely two sides of this argument.
So Taylor, we know a lot of people fall into medical debt because they have poor health care.
Yeah.
The timing of this also working out, considering millions of Americans are expected to lose health care coverage under Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah, the timing of this has been seen as being concerning for advocates out there, for consumer advocates. So many economists do think that the cuts to Medicaid could increase significantly healthcare costs for the average American. A recent study by the Association of Healthcare Journalists estimate the bill could lead to millions of Americans taking on more debt. In theory, we could see more people falling behind on their payments because of that, and more credit scores in general just falling across America.
All right. Well, so we know that courts usually go back and forth. Is this a done deal, though, or what's next?
Not necessarily. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau could appeal this judge's ruling. However, we do know under the current administration, it's really stripped this bureau of its power. So I do think it's unlikely at this point that we're going to be seeing any kind of appeal to this. However, this is something that we will absolutely continue to watch moving forward.
Yeah. All right, Taylor, thanks. Appreciate it.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.